my back, pick up your shoes, pull up your socks and go. I wake up in the morning, I wash up my face, I lift up my eyes and pray to the Father to guide on my way. I look into my future, that's how I want to be. I can never be so sad, worried in my life. Ndimkumuni nomsenji, ukusoma anti kumsenji. It's the key to the future, everywhere I go. Let's go to school, we never retire. I'll never look my back, pick up your shoes, pull up your socks and go. Let's go to school, so we never retire. I'll never look my back, pick up your shoes, pull up your socks and go. I wanna be a doctor when I grow up. Teach all my friends and the people at home. Teach them to love my mother, my father, my country. Kanina masuri tene. What the pieces full of. So go what's up. Have a criminal life, never give up. Really shows pick up your books, pick up your pen and let's go to school. So we never retire. I'll never look my back, pick up your shoes, pull up your socks and go. Let's go to school, so we never retire. I'll never look my back, pick up your shoes, pull up your socks and go. Roto macha, na yo ino peresa, okay, lentela. Gori mundo si. Ndimutiki kukatingo bachiloto, emkuba na yenge na mumaso. Jagala mchunga ni mukubaloti. Ndimkumuni no musenji, kusoma anti go musenji. It's the key to the future, everywhere I go. We never retire. I'll never look my back, pick up your shoes, pull up your socks and go. Let's go to school, so we never retire. I'll never look my back, pick up your shoes, pull up your socks and go.
Welcome to our session today, the October of 16th, our 7th session in our series of COP. We hope you are feeling better and we'd like to welcome you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your moment of being with us. Just share with us in the chat how you're feeling today before we begin. How are you feeling today now as we are meeting? Just share in the chat box. We'd like to know how you're feeling on this October 16th, 2025. And thank you for your time. Thank you very much. Energized. Can we have more? Inspired. Thank you very much. Great, good. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. It's another great day, another great time when you are meeting together and another great session. And yes, thank you very much. Thank you very much. So before we start, I'd like to welcome Marianne to give the opening remarks.
Thank you, Dr. Mina. I think we should liven up the room a little bit. Can everybody take themselves off of mute and just say hello? Can we hear some hellos in the room?
Hello.
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 Yes.
Hello.
Hi.
How are you, everyone?
Good. Good. A few more people. Are you all here or are you doing something else and away from your computers? If you're here, take yourself off mute and just say hello. You can even turn your camera on.
Hello, everyone.
I see some people.
Hello, everyone.
Yes. Welcome back,
Namibia.
everybody. Yes.
Hello.
Oyigoga, hello. Wanu,
Hi.
Jereje,
Hi.
Ebise. Yes,
Hello,
I see some
everyone.
people are really excited and really here. Okay, hopefully everybody can hear. I know we're getting to a smaller group size. You know, we began with 155 people, and now you are the most committed. You're the most interested, the ones who are sticking it out to learn the most. And I think that you will thank yourself for doing that, because the more you put into something, the more you get out of it. So thank you for spending so much time with us so far, and for coming back to the 7th session. That's 7 sessions so far. That's a lot. We realize it's a lot of work. That's 2 hours each session that you're here, at least 2 hours, maybe more if you're staying back for the 30 minutes after the session. And that's also all that time that you do with reading the homework and going to Google Classroom. So I'm just feeling, yes, I'm feeling deeply grateful. Oh, you go, guys, see your comment. Deeply grateful for all of you for coming out, for sticking with it, and for being here so far for this 7th session. We only have about a month more to go. We only have a few more sessions left before we break for the winter, and then come back again next year, maybe in February. We're not so sure of the date yet, but you've been here for so long, and we want to appreciate you. And I think you already know why you're here. This is the community of practice. It's not a traditional webinar. It's sort of like a course, but it's also a community. It's a community made up of all of you, practitioners, policy actors, people that are working on something that is really, really connected to teacher education. That's why you're here. You're coming from your shared interest in teacher education, with a special focus on pre-service education right now. Pre-service, initial education, what teachers learn about in colleges before they go off and become professional teachers. We're not talking about CPD when we are in mid-career and learning more about how to become more effective with new technologies that come up along the way, new methodologies, new pedagogies. We're talking about, what do new teachers learn or not learn? And how does that impact their first few years in their schools? So it's a really interesting topic. And I want to say that we're thankful to all of our partners who are part of this community of practice. So I work with UNESCO ICPA. ICPA stands for the International Institute for Capacity Building in Africa. And we also have partners from GPE. GPE is the Global Partnership for Education, and the KIX program, Knowledge Innovation Exchange, KIX. I know I'm going very fast, just to thank our partners. And we also have support from the European Union's Regional Teachers Initiative for Africa. That's the EURTIA. They're providing support for this space. And also we have the Shanghai Funds and Trust, the Africa Federation of Teaching Regulatory Authorities, that's AFTRA. We have Professor Steve Nwokecha here today from AFTRA. He'll be speaking about leadership today. And I see AFTRA Flora, somebody else maybe from AFTRA, but AFTRA is one of our partners, and so is the African Union. So that's quite a lot. I'll hand it over now to Dr. Mina, our course facilitator, to take us through the learning for today. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much, Marianne, for this. And today we are going to recap what we did last session, and then we'll deep dive into today's focus, which will be about the AU standards and competencies for teachers. And I know Marianne had shared with you what we are doing today. So this place, as we have heard, is a community where we are co-creating and we are learning from each other. Let's engage actively and be able to stay connected, share what you have in brief so that you give other people more time. And also let's keep our mic off unless we are speaking. So this is our space to create, to connect, and to grow together. Let's celebrate this particular space. So I like to begin with a small recap of what we did. I like to thank all those people who have submitted their work. Thank you very much for your time. And I read through your work and I teased out some key points which you had actually submitted. It's very, very important that what I noticed, you are able to share a clear divide between rural and urban, particularly for teachers who are being trained or the deployment. So according to what you shared, you talked about barriers which are on equity. And how do we ensure that we achieve equity? You brought issues of poor infrastructure, isolation, overcrowded classroom, and teaching in complex multilingual setting. It was quite an eye-opening as I read your submission, and thank you also for sharing in the stream because I saw other people connecting. One of the single greatest hurdle I saw from the work was language barrier. For instance, in Nigeria, Benue State, newly trained teachers often receive instruction in English, but are deployed to schools where students predominantly speak Idoma or Nigerian Pidgin, which severely limits literacy development and hinders classroom interaction. And this was actually compounded with what we said that according to UNESCO, 40% of world population lacks access to education in a language that they can fully comprehend. There was also an issue of mismatch of low participation, which widens the gap for marginal learner. We see mirrored places like Nampula, Mozambique, where new teachers struggle to teach grade 2 classes entirely in Portuguese, when the students' home language are Emakua or Elomwe. There are also other critical things which we saw from your response, that is technology, policy, and pedagogy to support rural teachers. So one of the things where you talked about digital mentoring and blended professional development, you say the rural teachers often work in isolation, and therefore we must counter this by mobile technology, online platform to enable digital mentoring and peer networks, connecting them with experienced mentors, often from urban area. You also suggested blended professional development, where we are combining face-to-face and virtual. There was also the second point, which came out clearly, was implementing mother tongue pedagogy. And you suggested to overcome this barrier, we need multilingual pedagogy. This is about familiar language and sharing that by bilingual pivot, for example, Idoma, Pidgin to English, then you are able to have a strategy where teachers can start teaching Idoma, then they reinforce with Pidgin, and finally, a very nice suggestion from their responses. And the last part which you shared was focusing on learning level, TAR, teaching at the right level, whereby you strongly advocated for this method, whereby you said this method allows learners to have tailored lessons. And you gave example of Nampula, Mozambique, on how it is working using Emakua, the language there. So I'll encourage those who have not read what other people have shared in the stream, please do read, because this is very exciting, what people are submitting. And if you check this time, we changed and say, please submit a copy in the stream so that other people can read, and then we can be able to connect. So thank you very much for that. Very great work. And let's continue reading what our colleagues are doing, and then we share. So now we want to have that time when we share our learning. So I'm going to put you in small groups, and I want you to think about what you did and what discussed, and share with the colleagues in that room, what did you focus on? Because you are given an example to focus on. Remember, the task was you work on different things. So tell them, what did you focus on? Which strategy did you propose? And link it to the statistics which you are given. Remember, last time we had scenarios. And then what insight did you get from that particular task? So we'll be in groups of about 5. So 5 or 6. Then I'll give you 6 minutes. Then you each share one thing, we can say a challenge or a strategy or an insight. So after 6 minutes, we'll come back here and continue with the session. So when it says join room, please join the room. And for those who will remain here, I'll remain with you and we speak together here. So I'm opening the rooms now. Join the room which you are located, and then you can start sharing your learning experience on what we did. So the rooms are open now. Make sure you click join room and go to that room and share with the people in that particular room.
Thank you. Thank you so kindly. Thank you, everyone. Good afternoon, colleagues and distinguished guests. You've already heard my name. I'm honored to be part of this community of practice and grateful to UNESCO IPA for the opportunity given me today to share my journey as a new teacher. So basically, two experiences shaped my early growth as a classroom teacher. First was my student teaching practicum at ABC University. For 4 months, experienced educators observed my class weekly and provided structured, constructive feedback. This mentorship helped me refine my lesson planning, classroom management, and instructional delivery. It taught me that the teaching is not just about content, it's about reflection, about responses and continuous improvement. And then the second one that really helped me early on was my exposure to professional development programs. I think I was fortunate in enough because this is not something that was structured. It was not part of the regular plan for school, but it just happened around that time, and I got exposure to these professional development sections that were organized by NGOs and international partners, such as the UNESCO, Peace Corps, Helping Hands Network, and I Help Liberia. These sections equipped me with subject knowledge, with hands-on strategies, and a network of passionate educators across Liberia. They helped me move from theory to practice and gave me tools to adapt to a diverse classroom. And then as a teacher, there were challenges that I really faced early on. One of my biggest challenges came after graduation. I earned a Bachelor of Arts degree in education, which largely prepared me how to teach, but not necessarily what to teach, especially science. But when I returned to my rural community, the school had no physics teacher. The administration pleaded with me to take on the role. I initially declined, but their insistence and the need on the part of the students moved me to accept. So I began studying physics independently, using online resources and YouTube channels like Bill Nye, the science guy. He had a very interesting way of presenting the science material, simple and in a funny way. So it really helped me. We also had no textbooks, no science lab, and we have limited materials. So I got creative. I use local items to teach scientific concepts. For example, breaking a coal pot, it's a bowl with coal and then we heat it. I brought it to class to demonstrate heat transfer. So all batteries and wires to build electric circuits, breaking window and matches bags, using sticks, as pendulum. Okay. So I started to use everyday objects to explain energy, motion, and matter. So this innovation, they made science accessible, but not just that, they made it relevant and interesting. Students saw faces in their daily lives. They saw it as interesting. And I also saw the power of contextualized, resourceful teaching. In closing, my journey has taught me that effective teacher education must blend theory, mentorship, and practical innovation. It must prepare teachers not just for the ideal classroom where you sit in the classroom and everything look perfect, but rather for the real ones that exist there, especially in underserved communities. I'm proud to be part of this conversation, and I look forward to learning from each of you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Ellen. Thank you very much. A round of applause for the teacher for a very nice entry point. Alan, I share the same. I am a physics teacher, and there's a time I was supposed to teach integrated science. And I stopped biology when I was in Form 3 when I was selecting. So it was very hard transition being a physics teacher to be forced to teach an integrated science. Thank you very much for that expression and sharing. And thank you everybody because you have really shared your work. You can see what you have shared. This is what people are typing. So you can see people have talked about teamwork, competency, language, innovation, collaborating with other teachers who are more experienced, improvisation, exactly what Alan did. Alan did improvisation. So thank you very much, Alan. Insights, people talk about navigating language barrier, indigenous knowledge, peer inspirations. This is all what people shared in our breakout room. And thank you very, very much, Alan, for that, because you are an inspiration. Being recognized is not easy. I've been there before. So I know the pressure you get from other teachers to be a model and to also be able to share. So ladies and gentlemen, we have heard from our colleague Alan, and we also heard from the way we shared. So I'd like to urge all of us to continue sharing, because when we share, we connect and we strengthen with each other. You are shaping a collective bank of teacher support strategies, which are rooted in evidence, because Alan has told us his story. So it is based on a reality. So keep sharing in our Google Classroom, in our WhatsApp group. Let's have stories, briefs, infographics, so that they are living resources, something we can turn to even after this particular engagement. Continue posting your highlights on different places so that people can learn. Let's now shift our lens to the leadership structure that enable these strategies. Remember, you are existing in a school and there is a leadership. So how do these strategies survive in a school? So when you look at a school, you are the teacher there, they are the expected outcome on the other side, then there's school leadership. So you find that we are reminded by the GEM report, which talks about leadership in education. It says national plans at the school, system, and political level need to nurture 4 essential leadership dimensions. 4, setting expectation, focusing on learning, fostering collaboration, and developing people. And when we are talking about that, last time when we started, Professor Steve, he gave us about the teachers. And we had those teachers about professional knowledge, values, and continuous professional learning. But because a teacher exists in the ecosystem where there's a school leader, today we want to unpack that and see how the school leader, what is it that they take? What do school leaders bring in? So that we are going to focus on the standards for school leaders. And we want to see how does leadership strengthen induction and mentorship for new teachers. Just to check in the room, the 32 of us, what role best describes you? And I want you to take a poll. Take a poll so that we see the percentage of the people in the room. Go to slido.com, enter that so that Professor Steve can see who is in the room, what percentage of the room is there. Slido.com. Just go to slido.com and then enter that number and then tell us what is your role so that we can know who is in the room. Go to your browser, type slido.com, enter that number, 35, don't put the hash, just 3537923, and then tell us what describes your role at the moment. Slido.com. Tell us what describes your role. Okay. Okay, one person has said it's none of what we had. Let's hear from others. Sempeho, you're saying what is happening, Sempeho?
I'm struggling though, so I'm trying to scan the QR code. Probably it will work.
Oh, but when you write Slido, it's not working. Slido.com. You can just write slido.com, enter the code, and then see if it works, Sempeho, please. So Professor Steve, you can see the population distribution, but we are getting more, yeah. Now it is split into a third. But let's get more. Thank you, Dr. Sempeho. Thank you very much. We have 34. Can we get more people so that we know who is in the room? We are at a third, almost a third. Please write slido.com. It asks you for a code. Enter the number on your screen. And then just vote, select. Wanu Makame, you can't find your browser. Just slido.com, slido.com, S-L-I, there it is written there. And then enter that. So we can see the distribution. This is almost 30%. We need more so that we see. If you can reach 65%, that will be okay. Okay, that's we're doing well. Let's push that dial. Let's have more. Slido.com, SLIDO.com. It will ask you for a code. Enter the code and then tell us which role best describes you today. Okay. We have 15 out of 34, so almost reaching. I want 50 plus 1. I want 50 plus 1 so that Professor Steve can see our profile of the spread of the team which is in the room. Okay, let's push it, let's push it. We are now at almost 50. Let's push it. 50% now. Can we get that plus 1? Then we move on. Great, great, great. We are getting there. 2 more and we'll almost be there. Okay, 1 more. So that we hit the 65% button. So ladies and gentlemen, this is the spread we have. Professor, we have policymaker 35%, others 33%, teachers around 30%, and school leaders 5%. So ladies and gentlemen, let me take this opportunity to introduce Professor Stephen Nokwecho, Executive Director, Africa Federation of Teaching Regulatory Authorities, AFRA, Abuja, Nigeria, and Chair of the World Forum of Teacher Regulatory Authorities. And we'll be talking about the standards. Professor, over to you.
Excuse me. Hello, everyone. I hope you can hear me clearly.
We can hear you clearly, sir.
Can you hear me too?
Yes,
All
we can
right,
hear
thank
you
you
clearly.
very much. My pleasure. It's my pleasure for this return visit to talk briefly on the key standards and competencies for school leadership, particularly the road towards new teachers. And as usual, I will take you through the 7 standards and then speaking on teachers. So we go to the next slide, which talks about competencies. Basically, competencies are rules. And otherwise, we expect that they are demonstrable abilities or skills for given positions and context. So roles have positions, they have context. They are not performed in a vacuum. So they have to be performed in a position of a teacher or a school leader and in given context. A role today could be different from tomorrow once the contexts are changing, even for the same person. So most of what we talk about, standards and roles. Standards are levels of performance, and competencies are the actual abilities that must be demonstrated. So we go to the first standard, which we call developing self and others. The first point there is that a leader cannot give what he or she does not have. And that's why under that standard, the first requirement is that the leader must deal with his own qualifications. When you are in the aircraft, they will tell you if the oxygen drops and you're putting your mask, put your own first before you help others. The blind cannot lead the blind. So it is required that school leaders must themselves have what they could use to assist others. And this has to do with their academic qualifications. The standards have prescribed the academic qualifications, minimum of bachelor's for those that are head teachers, a minimum of masters for those that want to be principals in secondary schools. And they must demonstrate that their professional development is top-notch, and they must have professional development portfolio that shows the credentials they possess. They must be top on the career path or career stages, a minimum of the 3rd career stage, which you can call expert, and ideally the 4th career stage, which is distinguished as a teacher before you become a school leader, and must belong to a good network of professionals. Now, for supporting and motivating new teachers, this, in terms of these standards, the motivation of new teachers should be in these aspects. You have to help new teachers to be sure that they meet the academic credentials for their positions, that they meet the professional requirement for their positions. We have many schools where teachers are teaching in countries that they should have licenses, but they don't have licenses. That way, you're not helping a new teacher when you recruit, accommodate, and condone a new teacher because he has academic qualification, but he has no professional licensure, professional examination, professional teaching license. Then you are not helping that teacher if you're in a country where those are relevant, like in Nigeria, in Ghana, in South Africa, and some other countries. Part of the role of a school leader is to help these new teachers understand and meet up all these academic and professional regulations. In fact, in the case of Nigeria and in some countries, where there is a law prohibiting people without licenses from teaching, there is a provision that school leaders that harbor teachers who have not registered, who do not have teaching licenses, are as liable as those teachers themselves. So part of supporting a teacher is to make them understand the requirements as new teachers and provide all logistical and motivational support so they could meet those things up. We also have to mention the fact that giving orientation and support to new teachers must be needs-based. As I've said, all new teachers do not have the same issues or challenges. And I mentioned the issue of context. For the same school leader, context might change every day. The same way for different new teachers in different contexts, they have different challenges. So it must be needs-based. There's no one size fits all. So school leaders are to apply a bit of individualized approach to understanding the needs of their new teachers in order to know what best serves their interest. We did also, on this same slide, we mentioned the fact that school-based is also important. When you are giving orientation or training or professional development to teachers, emphasis has been on workshops and traveling up and down. And this poses the problem of cost and logistics and limits the number of teachers that could benefit. I've been in World Bank projects and a lot of literature and, what works around the world. And emphasis is very much on school-based support because a school leader could provide an opportunity for new teachers and all teachers to learn a lot from at the level of the school. If people travel for conferences and workshops, they come back, they will not act as a trainer. They take their training as their trainers and they have to train others. Regular workshops and conferences could be organized as school-based. Community of practice could be integrated at school level. And several opportunities could be provided at school level on sustainable, ongoing basis, so that whether people travel for conferences or workshops, they do not lose much. And that will save a lot of cost. So we can't overemphasize the fact that supporting new teachers must be need-based and a lot should be school-based. We go to the second slide, which is on the second standard. It's talking about leading professional knowledge, practice, and conduct. This is where a school leader is expected to be an all-round excellent person, even though there is no person that's absolutely excellent in life. But it means you show leadership in terms of knowledge, in terms of practice, and in terms of conduct. Particularly for the new teachers who are encountering the school for the first time. They have a lot of anxieties. They have to relearn a lot of things. They do not have a perfect match between what they learned at school and what they find in class. Lesson plans, introduction of lessons, use of instructional materials, and particularly when you find yourself in classrooms with broken black chalkboards and even absence of such things, they will really be in trouble trying to know how they could make the best out of a bad situation, because our classrooms are not always in the best condition you will expect. Much of what they have learned in school might be ideal or theoretical, but when they are in school, when they start teaching, the anxiety and challenge becomes real. So that's the time for induction. An induction could take a number of days or weeks and could involve both workshop, a provision of information, questions and answers, visits to practical areas that could be of help for them, even using people who have the resources or who could serve as models to speak to them. And mentoring is always the more enduring one, because you're like a mother or a father figure to them, and you have to keep that kind of very positive and symbiotic relationship that will enable them trust you as a school leader to do the mentoring. Who is a mentor? A mentor is a guide. A mentor is a father figure. A mentor is a person that, out of the huge experiences, is no longer experimenting, and he can guide you. You don't need to relearn the rope. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. when a mentor is there, because confidently you could be guided. Class observation, we found them across Africa and across the world to be very useful. And we know even vice chancellors and principals that school teach and still visit the classroom. It's important to, mentor teachers, new teachers, not only from a distance, but sometimes be with them as they teach to find out exactly what they are going through and give your support. The African Union has published recently the mental health and psychosocial support strategy, because following the COVID-19 and other challenges, emergencies and catastrophes, a lot of refugees and internally displaced teachers, you have the issue of mental health becoming a jeopardy. And so we must be very conversant as school leaders with this mental health strategy so as to implement it in order to ensure that teachers teach in a very healthy atmosphere and are balanced emotionally and psychologically. You can agree that new teachers will be the most jeopardized. Old teachers could have a way of absorbing these shocks, but new teachers that are very new really have a bit of emotional tension. So they require mental health and psychosocial support. And in terms of skills and other aspects, they require this support. It's also part of the responsibility of leaders to ensure that new teachers have the required frameworks and policies. Our activities as professionals are guided by frameworks and policies. You'll see teachers who have never had a copy of teaching standards. They don't know what it is, then they just say about it. I just mentioned the psychosocial support strategy by African Union. They don't know about it. When we were reviewing the continental education strategy for Africa, part of the common challenge we find out is that 90% of frameworks and policies developed, particularly at continental, if not at national level, even the operators don't have a copy. They don't even read the content. They don't know what is there. It is a challenge. I don't know how we could breed a new crop of new teachers that are self-confident and self-driving when they don't have a copy, let alone read, and let alone be orientated towards the relevant frameworks, policies, and laws. Now let's go to the third one, which is managing resources of the school. Every organization thrives on resources, and you have human resources, financial, infrastructure, and other forms of resources. The new teacher is your resource that has to be managed, and we've been discussing about how to empower a new teacher, particularly in terms of career, in terms of their knowledge, in terms of their skills. One of the key strategies for empowering teachers, all teachers, particularly new teachers, is delegation of duties. Ensure that you don't work solo as a school leader, or you don't have favorites. Create opportunity for new teachers to participate in activities, in committees, and different things the school is doing, even in framing visions and missions and strategic objectives. Participation is a very important aspect of orientation. And participation gives a direct experiential exposure that is not the same as theories. Issues of justice, equity, and fair play must be cardinal, because if you look at UNAU global instruments, key is gender and inclusion, inclusivity, multiculturalism. A school leader must open up the space for every teacher and every new teacher in particular to feel a sense of belonging. And that is very critical. And then as a school leader, you manage overall human resource, and I have talked about financial resources and infrastructural resources, school facilities. These have to be managed for the good of all and not monopolized and not given to one section and not the other. In the last point, we're talking of the importance of teacher recognition in terms of words and recognition you give to a new teacher goes a long way in boosting that teacher. We spent the first week of October, myself and my colleagues at the Pan-African Conference on Teacher Education. After I was a co-organizer, and we awarded for almost the 6th year Continental Teacher Awards. I'm happy one of the winners, possibly in this community of practice. And we have this philosophy that awards go a long way. Awards may or may not be material, but the mere fact that you congratulate, you appreciate, you document that somebody is doing very well, it goes a long way. Nothing pays more than recognition. Yes, in the case of the African Union, we pay $10,000 to each winner, 10 of them. And we have done that consistently from 2019 to the present time, except 2024 that we skipped. And we've been working on a strategy to get all African countries to emulate those countries like Nigeria, Ghana, Sierra Leone, other countries where the president of the country are giving an award to teachers. Now, why I'm emphasizing the continental and national level is to see that the school leader also has a role at school level, no matter how small, to create an enabling environment of recognition and awards. I do have some of my staff at AFTRA that serve and go from African Union or from National Youth Service. They work a year or two and they go. As long as they are well behaved and they did their job very well, we give them a beautiful certificate signed by our authority to say, this person worked with us and we love the job he did. He was meritorious. Now, even if we don't give any money, some days that person will find somebody appreciating that certification, maybe at a higher level. And you now realize such appreciation, though not in cash, is worth something that money cannot buy. We cannot overemphasize the fact that new teachers must be appreciated. Many of them come into the profession not being interested because we know the situation of the teaching profession. In the surveys we did in Gambia, we did in Sierra Leone, we did in Liberia, we are doing it all over Africa. You find out that job satisfaction is less than 30%, 40%. And people feel, if you ask them how satisfied they are with compensation, you find 30% of the people, 40%, hardly 50, hardly 60. So what I'm saying is that morale is low, and a lot of people that are coming to teaching, possibly, if they have a better way, they could go. So, but with a bit of encouragement, a bit of motivation and recognition, they could really feel actualized, and then they begin to make their careers. Now, let's go to the fourth, which is promoting school environment, school improvement, innovation, and change. This has to do with developing strategic vision plans and policies, and again, carry new teachers along, because in doing, it is a direct experience. It's different from theoretical or guesswork. So if new teachers are able to participate in processes of this nature, they begin to appreciate more and they internalize. That is why in terms of policy development, you talk of top to bottom to top rather than top to bottom. You take all the grassroots, inputs and then take them upwards so that it wouldn't be strange to teachers. And we mentioned the standards itself, the EU standard itself mentioned the need for improvisation in local education materials, because we know there's extreme shortage of instructional materials. In the surveys we do under UNESCO IGBA and under the Shanghai FIT project we are running across the country, they report shortage of educational resources, particularly instructional resources. So improvisation becomes key. If people could look around them and be able to improvise, that would lift up, educational outcomes, rather than fold hands and say, well, I was taught that this has to be that, but it's not on ground. What do you want me to do? We have to, think out of the box, become more innovative and more creative. And that's why you see many students, there are many students learning under the trees, and they are better than those who learn in computer labs because of the difference made by the teacher and school leader. So we need to bring that human element, creative element that can only come from a well-established school leader towards the new teachers. And finally, management of health and safety is also very important. You have to ensure that new teachers feel safe and their health is guaranteed. There are a lot of approaches to guaranteeing health and safety besides physical security. I remember the simple wash, use of water facilities, water and hygiene. During COVID, it was very topmost. You must have places to wash your hand, have clean drinking water, have clean and hygienic toilets and all of that. UNICEF, UNESCO, and many authorities, their own project is called WASH. And it is established that ordinary clean drinking water, washing your hands, and using safe and hygienic toilets could eliminate communicable diseases and unnecessary death by more than 60% in schools. So these are little things that go a long way to ensure hygiene, to ensure safety, to ensure good drinking water for new teachers, just as for all teachers and all students. So issue of health and safety is not just for new teachers, but for everybody. And school leaders must pay attention to it because, as I said, it's been established to save a lot of deaths, unnecessary deaths, and communicable diseases. Now let's go to the generating resources internally and ensuring accountability. This has to do with finance because finances are the heart of running organizations. When we talked about resources, we talked about resources generally. But when it now has to do with finance, we are talking about integrity. We are talking of transparency. We are talking of efficiency. We are talking of expertise. And this is why the leadership standards require that school leaders, as one of their prerequisite certifications, must have done school leadership diploma, postgraduate diploma, and studied the best ways to manage resources, to manage finances, little principles of statement of accounts, little principles of accounting standards, auditing standards. You can't come into the role of a principal and you are totally ignorant of the simplest accounting standards, auditing standards, and financial procedures and financial regulations. So these are part of the competencies expected of a school leader. And you impact it on new teachers by modeling it, because it's not a question of do as I say, but do as I do. So new teachers that work with you would have to see your integrity. We have to see your transparency. We have to see your interest is not in pinching small money here and there, and in not extorting students through handouts or through creating levies that they are not going to those purposes, or doing end-of-year parties and graduations. We understand many countries are now banning secondary and primary schools from doing exit parties where they wear white shirts and write on their white shirts. I was in one of the countries in West Africa, and I was, if not embarrassed, I was by the beach, and I saw a truckload of students from secondary school who came in white with pen written all over it. They said they were signing out. And that's what they do in our universities. I'm a professor. My university students and all around Nigeria and many countries, they celebrate at every point, almost like, misleading or going astray from understanding what graduation from one point is. So are you a school leader that creates unnecessary levies for unnecessary parties? You do it only when it's extremely essential and account for all the money. That's what we mean by modeling transparency. Now let's go to supporting learners' enrollment and participation, which is second to the last standards. Now the learners, as a school leader and as a teacher, you determine largely whether a learner stays or not, take it or leave it. Many learners drop from school due to the way they are treated by teachers. And so school leaders have huge experience about appropriate behavior and conduct towards learners that could encourage them to enroll and to remain. Because when more students enroll and they are happy, they have friends and families that will encourage more enrollment. But when they drop, the opposite happens. Many more that we are interested will say, education is a scam, I don't want to go, there's nothing happening there, or look at those who are in school, what is happening. So mentoring new teachers to promote learning and learner enrollment and retention has to do with how we treat learners, the skill for treating learners. And so the school leaders have to ensure that their new teachers have appropriate treatment for learner to encourage retention. I did mention at this point harmful practices that have been at the core or at the heart of, driving learners away. Many of them have to do with brutalizing them. Every day they are in our televisions, they go viral. In Nigeria, sorry to use this example, just a week ago or so, you see a three-year baby put in school, and a teacher has to flog that 3-year-old child, and all over the back legs were turned red, and it's going viral. Well, I would also call them a teacher. It has to do with the fact that many people are in the job, but they are not teachers. Talking of what I said before, that there is need for regulation, there is need for certification, there is need for competencies. And it is the school leaders that have to ensure that their new teachers are competent. A competent teacher will know that the Nigeria's teaching standards, South Africa's teaching standards, global teaching standards have banished corporal punishment from schools. A teacher has no reason whatsoever to lay hands or flog pupils, especially babies. But we also know that in Africa, we argue that punishment makes for better learning and discipline. And so even when these rules are made, it is not obeyed, because we still see many people come out to argue that corporal punishment is required for students to be disciplined, that the Western children are not disciplined because nobody punishes them. Well, we leave this to your own community of practice to debate, but we must tell you that part of the things that drive away pupils and students is the way they are treated, brutalized in the name of corporal punishment. Some of them, the senior students punish them, and even a lot of deaths result from those treatment. And there are also discriminatory practices, naming and shaming, gender-based violence. All these are illegal activities by teaching standards globally and within the African context. So we must ensure that we read them from our school system. Rather, we should encourage healthy competition, recognition, and merit-based awards so that every learner must find a space. And that's why we say, find something good in every individual. You never say an individual is a never do well. Every individual has something good. If he's not good in art, he's good in math, he's good in one thing, he's good in the other. And from encouraging a student or a learner from his or her own point of strength, you could, boost the person's morale to become a better student. And then we must build supportive school and home community engagement, because many factors that determine learner performance follow them from home. That's why in sociology of education, there is so much talk about family-home relationship and family factors, community factors that determine learning outcome. The role of the school leader is to enable the new teachers to have these exposures, to have this awareness and understand the best approaches to give the best to the school. Now, the last one, which is engaging with community. This community has to do with everybody else, including the school. The school is a community, and there are levels of this community, from immediate community to the nation, to the global. In the standards, we use this one word, community. So understand that this community has to do with all levels of, call it community of operators, community of practice, critical stakeholders, people who have interest in education, people who participate directly and indirectly at all levels. And so it is the duty of a school leader as well to ensure that the new teachers understand what is involved, the concepts. A lot of technical concepts are involved in school community relations. And to do that, to also know the structures, the roles, and how to engage with all these levels of the components of the community. You have school-based community, school-based management community, you have parent-teachers association, you have the actual parents, you have levels of authority, traditional institutions, education districts, and the authorities, national, and even the global community of practice. They are community, and the new leader has to pay attention to how these new teachers are getting abreast of these concepts and participating effectively. In the next slide, I'm reminding you, I've been making reference to it, which has to do with investing the Shanghai Fit project. And that is a project that UNESCO is leading through the UNESCO IGBA. And this is a project funded by Shanghai Fit, by Shanghai Municipality in China, with funds to support Africa and Asian countries to develop their teaching standards, because it believes that teaching standard is at the heart. Virtually everything we are talking is about standards, directly or indirectly. And when a people that don't have standards, a profession that doesn't have standards, is just like a chaff in the wind that blows to any direction. No profession survives without standards. So UNESCO IGBA is still working across Africa, gathering all data, giving technical support, developing standards, both school leadership and teaching standards, ensuring that all we are discussing today, the school leaders and the teachers themselves become fully aware of them and practicalize them and build the capacity to move our education system forward based on standards. So kudos to UNESCO IGBA for the great job it's doing. Much of the awareness we are creating in Africa is actually coming through AFTRA and UNESCO IGBA, because these are the two bodies that have been very central and focal on issue of teaching standards. And anybody that knows what standards do for any profession would then know that this is a fundamental aspect of the tasks that must have been done, that must have to be done. So at this point, thank you for listening, and I will take one or two of your questions. Sorry if I overshoot the time. I wasn't checking myself. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor, for this profound walkthrough of the standards. And that was deep, and it's a moment for us to reflect and think about how do they appear, or how do we implement them in our communities. So I'm looking for a question. Anybody with a question, please? If you have a question, let's give him a round of applause. My table, I cannot give a round of applause. I'll give mine manually because I can't see it on the screen. But let's give Prof a round of applause for very great. Anybody with a question, please raise up your hand. We want to answer 2 questions, and then we proceed with the activity where we are going now to drill deeper on these standards we have been given and our experiences in our context. Anybody with a question?
Yes.
Yes, please proceed.
Yes, thank you. Let me say good afternoon to Prof. Steve. It's a pleasure hearing you once again. Yes, Prof. Steve, I'm concerned particularly when you mention about corporal punishment. Now that this issue of tenure that you are discussing is going around Africa, are there provisions to address this issue?
Yes, I'll take all your questions and I answer at once.
Okay,
if there are more questions.
Another question, please. Anybody else? We have got one question. Oyugoga, your hand is up. Oyugoga?
Yeah, thank you, Professor Minor. I hope I'm audible, sir.
You are very audible.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Prof. Steve, for a very good and effective presentation, sir. Actually, my concern as an educator in Nigeria stems on how we can really build a robust mechanism for school leadership empowerment at the school level. And I thought of an innovative idea, and that is creating a supportive system locally and globally supported at the grassroots level. And because of this presentation, sir, I would want an input from AFTRA, of which you are effectively leading, to brainstorm on how this could be achieved, especially from the regulatory component that you have just shared with us today. So I would want to see such a system, and if you will, you could create that environment where we could take that discussion further. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much, Oyugoga. Jane Sebuyungo.
Thank you very much, Professor. My question is around what kind of mentorship models do you believe are most effective in helping school leaders help these new teachers in alignment with the African Union standards, given the big realities of schools, big schools and big classrooms? And then thinking around how can these school leadership teams build their own capacity to mentor and coach new teachers? In Uganda, we have a gap. School leaders don't go through professional development. How can they be supported to build their own capacity to coach and mentor new teachers more effectively?
Thank you very much, Jen. Prof, you can take the 3 questions.
Okay, thank you very much. Corporal punishments and provisions to address them, and that is why we talk about the need for law. If you read the African Union Continental Framework on the Teaching Profession, provision number 1 is countries should make a law to professionalize teaching. Because under that law, a body is empowered as the regulatory authority to take up such issues. If you beat a child in UK or in US or in Canada, the teacher regulatory authority comes after you. They have disciplinary tribunals to try the person. And once they take your license, you may be suspended or barred for life. And when they bar the teacher for life, no system will employ that person. But in a country where there is no law and where there is no regulation, then everything is left to chance. Perhaps only the families concerned could go to police and police will charge it to court, and one way or the other, the person escapes. There is even no database of these people who commit this kind of crimes. So they could migrate from one community, one state to another, from one country to the other. The primary response to this is enabling law. The countries that have it, like Nigeria has this law, many other countries are having these laws now. It is the regulatory authorities that is their responsibility directly. When teachers do the wrong thing, to pick those teachers, they should have teacher tribunals that will try them and make their sanctions public. So that is the primary way professions are regulated. When lawyers do the wrong thing, you find out that the legal disciplinary tribunal would invite those people and revoke their license, and they cannot appear in court. When medical doctors commit offenses that are considered to be professional, the medical tribunal will strip them of their license. And when stripped, they cannot practice. There is a distinction between criminal and professional offense. Flogging a child may not be criminal, but it's professional offense. So when it is professional misbehavior, it is the regulatory authority that should act. And the provisions are there, but the inability to act, the lack of political will is the issue. I can tell you when I was Nigeria's first director of operations, Teacher Registration Council of Nigeria. For 10 years, we applied to the Attorney General for the Federation for what they call fiat to prosecute erring teachers. But the Attorney General of Federation required the Teacher Registration Council of Nigeria to bring each and every issue to the Ministry of Justice to be handled directly there. And we couldn't prosecute a single person in 10 years. But look at EFCC, Economic and Financial Crimes, and other authorities that they have granted the authority to prosecute by themselves. Because in a country, you cannot prosecute without the Attorney General's authority. So when Attorney General decentralizes this power to these bodies that are established by law, it is faster and they are more effective. So these are the challenges surrounding the prosecution. I'm sure that the person who asked this question is a Nigerian, and so he understands better the example I'm giving. The authority in Nigeria, Teacher Registration Council of Nigeria, has no authority to prosecute. If you have any case, you go to Office of Attorney General for the Federation, and that could be a very long process. But other authorities that have got that, we call it fiat, you can liaise with police and other law enforcement agencies and make arrests in schools and deal with teachers that are teaching without licenses that are committing this kind of offenses. But under the circumstance where the regulatory bodies are not so empowered or they are receiving no law, then it's left to individual families to carry their burdens and to report to police, and police to do what they know best. The second question on mechanism for school leadership empowerment, creating a supportive system. We will welcome your letter officially if you have good ideas about how AFTRA could help to create this supportive system. But AFTRA is a continental and global body. We work at the country level, we work through the federal ministries of education and their national agencies. We hardly go to grassroots. We are a continental intergovernmental body. So we don't, Nigeria is there, Ghana is there, South Africa, Kenya, Liberia, they all have authorities. If you make proposal and we consider it useful, we share it at the round table of the federation, and then the different governments will work with it. So if you have any proposal, you send it, but AFTRA does not get involved at grassroots because it's a coordinating continental body. What gets to the grassroots is the national authorities and national ministries of education. But we all work together and we cascade what we get at the continental level to the grassroots. I need to remind you also that AFTRA, we discussed it during my presentation some time ago, AFTRA and African Union, UNESCO, IPA, Education International, we are working jointly, but it is an initiative of AFTRA to start licensure for school leaders. And that licensure is going to ensure that school leaders that meet continental requirements are licensed. In a two-step approach, the qualified school leaders will be screened by their countries, and that will earn them 40 marks. And their names will be forwarded to AFTRA, which at the continental level is coordinated by AU, Education International, UNESCO, IGBA, and they write international licensure examination to show that they have met virtually all the requirements that is in the school leadership at the continental level. That will not stop school leaders from having their national licensure. So it will run parallel. It will be a question of international licensure if you wish to have it. United States of America, all states have their teacher certification and licensing departments. And when they license you, you teach only within those states. But they also have a national licensing authority that when you hold their license, which is the National Board for Professional Teaching Standards, when you hold their license, you can teach across states, including Canada. And for other professions, you have it in accounting and law and all of that. So that's part of what we are creating. We will keep giving you this sensitization through this community of practice, but very soon it's going to be a big bang because it will be launched. And then some of you that are in this community of practice, you have this prior knowledge that something big is coming. School leaders will be licensed at the continental level. And so it's time for you to start on time to get yourself equipped, to get familiar with what it means at the continental level to be a school leader. And finally, the mentorship models that Madam asked, big classrooms and all of that. I don't know any one size fits all, but all we know is that what we have discussed in these 7 standards gives any leader an idea about the relationship to have with new teachers in order to create their capacity. I won't say it's father-son relationship or it's face-to-face, but it's complex. It's a complex set for you to mentor and induct and empower a new teacher. It's a complex set cutting across these 7 standards, if not more. These 7 standards are minimum anyway. There are other countries or parts of the world with more. Finally, the issue of how could leaders, build their own capacity. That is, of course, a reality because we have said you can't give what you do not have. Obviously, many countries, many school leaders do not have capacities themselves. Nobody, and the environment has not been challenging. The environment has not been motivating. Their income is poor. They don't take part in workshop. The surveys we did show that in 3 years, less than 30% have attended, any training of any sort. Less than 30% in 3 years. But let me tell you one good example we found in the Gambia, and we've been trumpeting it all over the place. Gambia decided that all head teachers, not principals yet, all head teachers will have full-time 1-year training at the National Management Institute. It's a study leave with pay. they release them in batches to go to the National Management Institute. That National Management Institute is now a national university in management. And they train for 1 whole year and return. And I worked with them. I saw their curriculum. It's exactly, if not more, of what we have even prescribed in the AU standards, especially leadership and management something. So there must be political will, and government and employers must really create these resources and opportunities. And expenditure in education is not a waste, it's an investment. I am sure that in Gambia, where they are doing this, those leaders that train in batches, 1 full year training, all their salaries are paid, and they train in a university that has become a university now with a robust syllabus in school leadership. I believe the impact is making. When next I return to Gambia, I will ask for accountability of tracer studies of those leaders that have been so trained. So I agree with you that many leaders do not have the capacity because they don't have the resources and opportunities. But this calls for political will and political enablement. But at the same time, leaders cannot resign to their will waiting for external help. We also have theories and approaches that emphasize self-help. So we are not exonerating leaders. People like us who attend the level we did, we are not trained by government or by our schools. And I used to say this to people. There are countries and parts of the countries you come from. They give you scholarship for this, scholarship for that. Some of us come from places you even pay levies and taxes if you must go to school. And you train yourself to doctorate, to professorship, and you're waxing strong out of the same poverty-stricken environment where you were born. So we must have that inspirational message for every leader not to fold their hands. Find something to do. Today, we are propagating ODL, open and distance learning, where with your handset, you can register for training programs and courses. Currently, we are running with Commonwealth of Learning. After and Commonwealth of Learning is doing a lot of projects around Africa in over 8 countries on how you can use online learning, ODL. And these courses have been developed, hundreds of them by Commonwealth of Learning, and they're online. All we are now doing is to guiding people to access it, study it, and even get certification. Yes, certification from online without leaving your room. All you need is your handset and your data. So what I'm saying is that we are not exonerating leaders. Leaders must really make the best out of their bad situation, but more falls on government and employers. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Prof, for that in-depth response. You have given us gems which are existing good practice. You have also motivated us to continue learning, and you have provided opportunities of what is possible. There are 2 questions there which you can take online and just respond. Because of time, we are going to proceed, but there are 2 questions more, which maybe if you have time, you can just answer them on the chat. Otherwise, thank you very much for your time. And ladies and gentlemen, I now want us to delve deeper on what the prof have said. We are now going to go to 7 groups. 7 groups. And each group is going to address one of the standards. And you'll have a question. So I'll give you 10 minutes. And then when you come back, after that, you are going to answer, you're going to present what you have discussed. I'm sharing the link now because we saw in the first time people are not getting the link. Please confirm that you can access the task. You can raise up your hand if you can access the task. Before we go for breakout room, we want to ensure that we can all access the task. I've shared a link in the chat. Click on the link. It will take you to a Google Doc, which has the 7 steps, the 7 competencies which Prof have shared with us, and each will have a different question. So I'll give you 10 minutes. You discuss, actually 8 minutes because of time. You discuss and fill your response. And when we come back, each group will be given a minute or 2 just to give us, because we can all see your response, just to give us the experience. Please confirm by raising your hand if you can access the document so that we move on. Thank you, Dr. Siamfo. Yeah, click on the link which I've just shared so that we are sure that we can all get the document which we are going to share. So if we can all get the document, and I can't see hands, I'm requesting if you can raise up your hand so that we confirm that we have the document. That will be very good, so that the document is what I want to share now. Before we go, we are not going to the rooms until the instructions are clear. This is what you are going to see. I can see people already there. And the instructions are on the document. You can see the instructions there. It tells you what to do. And then now, if you find yourself in breakout room 1, you have a different question. Breakout room 2, you have a different question, like that. So we are now going to go to our room. It's 4:30. By 4:35, by 4:40, we should be back here, and we expect each group to make a short presentation. We will see their answers, but we want them to make a short presentation about what we are. So I want to open the rooms. Oh, the rooms are already set. Sorry, Camila. Sorry. I've just closed the room. Sorry, Camila. You had already set the room. So we are going to take you to the room again, just a minute. It has to take 47 seconds. But if you're in group 1, you will see the question is there. You just come down here and you answer. Don't highlight, just answer. Discuss that question as a group. And then when you discuss, write your response there. If you're now in breakout room 2, just discuss there and answer. If you're in breakout room 3, just discuss there and answer. So, sorry for that. I closed the room accidentally, but I'm going to reopen them shortly in 15 seconds. When it comes, join the room, and then just work on that. There are 7 rooms, you have 4 threes, but please answer in 4 seconds. I'm going to open the rooms again, and you have 10 rooms. You have 7 rooms, you have 10 minutes. So let's go to the rooms now.
Mina, you're on mute.
Sorry. Welcome back, everybody. And we now want to listen to your presentation. Just 1 minute per group. Tell us something from what you and the other groups, please. These are the instructions. You can go and read what other people wrote. Let me just show the instructions so that you can see them. You can just go to add comments. You can go add comments on what other people wrote as they are speaking, or you can ask a question and then other team members will be responding. We want to have a live document which we are interacting. So I want to request a member from group 1, and today we have a visitor, and our visitor was very active. So Abel, please, can you come and share a little, just a snapshot in a minute of what we talked about? Our guest today.
Yes, thank you. So I was trying to say that it is important for school leaders to be open to the idea of professional development, because sometimes we see situations where school leaders or principals, they may feel insecure when more educated people are assigned to their school, and that in itself will discourage continuous professional development. So it is important, in addition to school leaders seeking education, because as we earlier said, what you don't have, you cannot give. It is important that they support the idea, and this can show up in allowing teachers in countries that teachers shoulder the responsibility by themselves, by allowing teachers, giving them flexible schedule that will allow them to seek further opportunity for continuous professional development. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alan. And you can read what we have written, and you can add comments. You can come here, add a comment. Like you can see Dr. Msefu, Sampefo has asked a question like that. That's good. Can you interact with this document? This is our live document to interact with. Derek, Dennis, your hand is up, please. Which group are you? We go to your group.
All right.
Derek,
yes, sir. Thank you, Dr. Mana. We are from group 6.
6, here we are. Don't tell us what is written here. Just reflect on it, react. Oh, it's blank.
Yes, definitely. We are just going to reflect on it. So Our reflection was that there's a need to conduct training in order to sensitize new teachers on policy issues, and the leaders within the school should model through their action, because most time people learn even faster by seeing what others are doing. And then they need to create school community for sharing, share policy and expectation, work with new teachers until they get along, and provide color on how to meet those policies. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I was trying to get what you are saying, and this is what I got. Just check if it is true. The technology which was getting what you are saying, I'm trying to put it there so that you can see it. Can we have somebody else raising up their hand? This is what he just told us about level 6. Somebody else to speak, raise up your hand. We have only a few minutes, 1 minute. Please, this is a live document. You can add your comments, you can ask questions. I have group room 5. They did something good. Room 5, who is a member of room 5? Please unmute and start speaking, telling us a little of what you've done. Room 5, don't let
Wow.
me check.
I think
Jane,
in
yes.
room 5, there were members who talked about school leaders should use resources efficiently and equitably for the right purpose. To benefit learners equitably for all learners and teachers through maybe learning materials and also other collaborative opportunities or learning opportunities. It's important to think about equitably to ensure that they are inclusive, they are gender responsive, they are able to cater for people coming from different needs, to ensure that they are all growing as new teachers or learners. Then leaders should be accountable for tracking of resources to show where they went and how they impacted students' learning and teachers' teaching. Accountability goes, maybe they should be able to produce periodical reports, how they spent resources. Mariam had the opportunity to share with us that even in the USA, when she goes to a school and they are able to account and say, this is the money we receive, and this is the breakdown of how we spent the money, she gets trust into the school leader and they are able to work together. So in this case, school leaders should be able to be accountable and get involved in, even the teachers must be get involved in the budget process, while they are planning for it, while they are spending, while they are making expenses, but also auditing is part of the process. How are funds spent, maybe generate end of term budget reports or end of school year budget reports to be accountable. And lastly, school leaders can also generate funds through school projects to get resources. They can do this collaboratively in school clubs. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jane. Ladies and gentlemen, this document is live. You can go add more information. You can go add a question. And if a question is asked, anybody else can answer. Let's interact with this so that we are able to deepen our understanding of the kind of support school leaders can offer. So thank you very much for that activity. It is a continuous activity. I've just planted a seed, continue watering it, and we see what it becomes in the next few days. Otherwise, now I like to welcome Marianne because we are having a big task which we are doing. And Marianne can quickly answer in 5 minutes before we close. But then we are going to have 30 minutes after here to address more stuff. Marianne, over to you.
Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Mina, and thank you everybody for the great discussion. I was part of group 5 with Jane and Elmuth and Ben, and it was a good discussion. Although never enough time, but that means that we need to go to WhatsApp to continue the conversation, I guess. I'm going to take just a minute to show everybody what's going on with the assignments these days. So as you know, as part of this course, let me share my screen. If you would like to get credit for the course through a certificate that you could perhaps showcase, maybe add to your CV that you've done this course, remember, it's not required that you do this, but we do encourage you to get the credit. Then you'll have to do an assignment that will be due in mid-November. So you have about a month. And the assignment is going to be a real assignment. So it's one that will require a bit of effort from you. It's not just simply reading something and then writing a comment. It's going to be a little bit more than that. The idea is to give you a chance to show your learning, but also to apply your learning in a new way. So that'll be different for everybody. You have an option to which one you want to do. So there are 4 tasks, and we'll spend some time now in the next 30 minutes. I'll stay online until 5:30 p.m. East Africa time. I'll stay online to answer any detailed questions that you have, but right now I'm going to give a quick overview. So when you go into Google Classroom, if you go to Google Classroom, under the classwork column here, on the top, classwork, if you click on that, you'll see that there's a final task right here, final task. You need to go to this. You can view the instructions. And the idea, and Dr. Mina could explain if I have problems explaining, but the idea here is to click on which one of these you are going to do. And please just do one. If you can finish that one, then you could do a second one if you want to, but we really want you to focus well on just one. So then you click on one. Let's, for example, go to the 4th one. You click on this one, and then you can see here the detailed instructions, what it says. Sorry, not that one. We have to do a different one. Option 4. So this one, if you did option 4, which is the action plan, or if you did option 3, which is the interviews to teachers, we'll be giving you feedback in the next couple of days. And also, please, peer feedback as well. You can give each other peer feedback in Google Classroom. But this is one example. You need to follow the directions and then write in here what you're going to do for your action. That's just one example. And this is meant to be time-bound, specific, and actionable. So if you've done assignment number 4, which is the application and reflection, we really encourage you not to try to take on a huge project. You won't be able to finish your application of your learning in only 3 weeks, 4 weeks. So pick something very manageable for yourself. The instructions are all here to help you to be realistic in your action. You want to show that you're applying your learning in some way. We have one example here. One participant has been working on this and writing up something. Your action can be in your own area of responsibility, and it can be as simple as sharing your learning from this course in a presentation to your supervisor. Or it could be a bit more detailed, like creating a presentation, a training session for people whom you work with, to share with them in more detail what you've learned. So it's going to be something that you can do, you can complete it by mid-November. So we hope that you are taking that into account, that it's going to have to be done by mid-November. If you are opting to do option number 2, this is one that we have been working on with the director of ICBA. We have gotten more information now about a detailed tool. It's going to be a tool that you can use to show what you think of your teacher education system in your country. And I'll be online for the next 30 minutes to explain this to people. But here's what it looks like. It's quite detailed. So if you are working in policy, if you're working in a Ministry of Education, this one is especially good for you. And we're very interested to know what you think. So you'll have a chance to rank or to score your teacher education system in your country, and then to explain why you've ranked it or scored it that way. And this will be in Google Classroom. I'm going to upload this today, this exact thing that you're seeing right now, only for those of you that are attempting to do option number 2. Okay, Mina, that's a quick overview. I'll give it back to you, but I'll be online for 30 minutes after this to explain more to anybody who has questions about these 4 assignments.
Thank you very much, Marianne, for that support. We are here to walk with you. We are here to learn together with you, and we are here to support you. So don't feel pressure. It's just a learning journey so that we all learn together. So this is a moment now. We are coming to the end of the session. You have the normal form. This form is very useful. and I'm sharing the link in the chat. Please give us feedback about your learning experience. Give us feedback about your learning experience, because we are going to, we read it and then we react. So please take some few minutes to give us a feedback. Click on that link, just answer today's session 7. How was it? What are you taking up? And how can it be improved? So that is what we want from you. And we are going to have a 30-minute self-regulated question and answer. Marianne is here. Unfortunately, Marianne, I'll have to drop. So, but no problem. So please do answer that. And we continue accommodating and being flexible, because our assignment for this session is a choice. So you'll have to choose a strand. Out of the 7, we are going to post them as task 7. You choose any one of those, and then you are going to reflect. You'll get guiding question to reflect and propose actionable steps. Once you finish in submission, you copy that in the stream so that your colleagues can see and give you feedback. So that is what we want, to continue engaging, deepening our learning, because the next session will be sort of related with this, because we are going to see how we can use technology in terms of providing support to ensure that these standards are realized. So please don't forget our normal part. And I'd like to go back to Marianne for the closing remarks so that we can finish with our song.
Thank you, Dr. Mina. Nothing much more to say on my end. Just thank you very much, Dr. Mina, for your guidance, your support, and your teaching expertise. It really does show through in these sessions, and also in your ongoing support to everybody in Google Classroom. We realize that it's not easy, but thanks for hanging in there, Dr. Mina, and all the participants. Thank you to Professor Steve Mulkecha for your wonderful, very informative presentation on the AU's standards and competencies for school leaders today, and how that can connect to the work that they do for new teachers. That was very important for us to hear. And we do hope that we have engagement from participants on those ideas going forward. We might be asking you to come back again in the future to elaborate more. So thank you for your ongoing support for our COP space. It's important to have you. Thank you to Mr. Alan Thomas, and congratulations for winning the award. You're now the best teacher in Liberia. So we thank you for representing your country, for representing your school and your students. And we have a lot to learn from you as a teacher. Please feel free to join this space next time we meet in 2 weeks and in an ongoing way. Thank you to everybody. Thank you, Alan, and to all the participants. I think we'll close with these beautiful students in their song.
Time to